Have you ever looked up at the sky and thought, my throat just made a weird noise. That's not what I thought, though. Have you ever looked up at the sky and thought, is that a cloud or is the government trying to mess with my head with some crazy light show? Congrats. You might be blue beamed. Oh, shit, that's funny. Welcome back to Don't Quote Me, It's Probably Nothing, the podcast where we dive headfirst into the wildest conspiracies, mysteries, and mind benders that make you go, wait, what? I'm Kelly, your voice in the void, and today we're blasting off to... I'm trying to keep my composure while saying blasting off because I love Jimmy Neutron and all I can think of is, gotta blast. Anyway, we're talking about one of the most outrageous theories out there, Project Bluebeam. It's the alleged top secret plan to fake an Italian... not an Italian invasion, an alien invasion. Oh, I cannot read. Anyway, it's a top secret plan to fake an alien invasion using high-tech holograms and some seriously next-level mind control. So is it sci-fi or just the government's ultimate magic trick to usher in a new world order? I'm going to break it all down step by step with plenty of chaos, questions, and a little bit of please don't beam me up vibes. You know, from my last episode when I said beam me up, Scotty. All right, so let's kick things off by meeting the guy who handed us this conspiracy gift on a silver platter, Sergei Monast. Or it might be Monast. Minost could be right. But anyway, picture a Canadian investigative journalist in the early 1990s armed with a notebook, a healthy dose of skepticism, and maybe just a little too much late-night sci-fi watching. So Sergei claimed that NASA and the United Nations had cooked up a secret plan, something he called Project Bluebeam. And the goal was to simulate a worldwide apocalypse or a grand religious event like the second coming of Jesus, using advanced holographic technology so convincing it would fool everyone on the planet. He said that this elaborate hoax was designed to dismantle existing religious beliefs and social structures, clearing the way for a new world order, basically a global government that would control everything and everyone. Sounds like a blockbuster movie script, right? But anyway, Sergei was dead serious. He detailed how this project would use technology way ahead of its time to project gigantic 3D holograms in the sky with fake alien invasions and even implant messages directly into people's minds. Which, if they're going to do that, please implant the message of clean your dang rooms and stay home and eat all the freaking chips, Kip, into my kids' teenage minds. That was my Napoleon Dynamite voice, and I hope you guys liked it. Anyway, so to make things extra spicy, this all supposedly started as a way for NASA to justify their space programs and expand their budget because nothing says trust us like faking an alien invasion to scare everyone into submission. Okay, so now that we know where Project Bluebeam came from, let's get to the juicy part. And I'm sorry I just chuckled, but I literally recorded this 15,000 times because I keep saying blue bean and not blue beam. But yeah, so now that we know where that idea came from, we can get into the juicy part, which is 4 steps that Sergei laid out for how this whole cosmic hoax was supposed to go down. So the plan starts by collapsing all existing religious beliefs. So according to this theory, this would be done through massive earthquakes or other disasters that reveal, and you can't see me, but reveal is in air quotes, new archaeological discoveries. So basically fake relics or ruins that disprove all major religions. Imagine the world's biggest gotcha moment to shake people's faith to the core. It's like the universe hitting the reset button on your spiritual playlist, which Jesus is my homeboy, so there's that. So next up is the gigantic, ultra-realistic 3D holograms projected into the sky. We're talking mega holograms of religious figures or alien ships appearing in the atmosphere, talking in every language, because apparently the government's got the ultimate multilingual translator. And the idea is to stage a grand spectacle so convincing that people would think the apocalypse, the second coming, or an alien invasion was actually happening. And it like sounds like Coachella meets Area 51. Which, do you guys remember when all those people were like gonna storm Area 51? And then I think there were like some videos, I think maybe like 2 people showed up with like a sign. Good times. So things get personal here because this theory says they'd use artificial telepathy to send messages directly into people's minds. So no phones, no text, just straight up mental broadcasts. Like imagine your phone notifications popping up inside your brain, but instead of memes, it's a cosmic command from the powers that be. And then finally, there's the grand finale, step 4, which is a simulated alien invasion or apocalyptic event so intense it forces people to accept a one world government or a new world order as like the only option left. It's like the ultimate, we're all doomed, so let's just unite moment, except it's all stages with light shows and mind games. Sounds wild, right? But remember, for believers, it isn't just like a sci-fi fantasy. It's a blueprint for controlling humanity on a global scale. For skeptics, it's a perfect storm of paranoia and Hollywood-level imagination. Either way, it makes you look at the sky a little bit differently. All right, so now let's talk tech. Because Project Bluebeam isn't just about spooky theories. It's got some pretty wild technology claims that sound like sci-fi come to life. So obviously there's the holograms, and think like Star Wars level holograms, but on like a global scale. Using satellites or high-powered projectors, these images could be seen like from anywhere on Earth. Like imagine looking up and seeing a massive alien mothership cruising through the clouds, and the aliens are up there like, Earth? Yeah, no thanks. Then there's HARP, which, like, when I was doing the research for this, I'm like, what does AARP have to do with this? But anyway, HARP, HAARP, is the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, and it was originally designed to study the ionosphere and radio wave propagation, but conspiracy theorists say that HARP's real purpose is mind control and weather manipulation. So the idea goes that it might be used to help create those fake disasters or control how people react to holograms. And then there's like lightning storms and weird weather patterns, all part of the grand Bluebeam plan, apparently. That was a lot of P's. There was a lot of P's in there. But also, have you guys seen these storms lately? Because they've been wild. Don't forget about satellite projections and advanced sound technology, which the theory claims can send messages or images directly to people's heads. The infamous artificial telepathy we talked about earlier, but instead of your phone buzzing, you'd get a mental notification from the overlords. And I think my overlords are stuck in their nostalgic 90s phase, because I've been over here singing Just Another Day by John Cicada, and I would sing it for you, but I don't want you to turn my podcast off just yet. But anyway, here's the kicker. While some of this tech exists in bits and pieces, most experts agree that it's nowhere near the level needed to pull off a worldwide seamless holographic invasion. Now that we've laid out the wild tech and the grand plans of Project Bluebeam, let's get into the real question. Why do people actually buy this stuff? Like, why do so many folks look up at the sky and go, yep, definitely a hologram, definitely aliens, definitely a government plot? So first off, there's the classic recipe. Fear plus distrust equals conspiracy cocktail. Sounds delicious, by the way. Actually, it doesn't. Anyway, so when things get like weird in the world, political chaos, pandemics, economic up and downs, people want answers. And it's way more comforting and interesting to think that some shadowy government agency is behind it all, pulling strings from a secret lair with a projector and a remote, which is exactly what's happening. That was like kind of my evil laugh. I don't want to do like a real evil laugh because I don't even know if my evil laugh would sound evil. Then there's the psychology of pattern recognition. So our brains are wired to find meaning and connections, sometimes where none actually even exist. Seeing a random light in the sky, hologram. Hear a weird sound, government mind control. Obviously. It's like our brains are little detectives, but sometimes they just guess and hope for the best. Also, the rise of internet culture means theories spread faster than your last questionable text at 2 a.m. Once one person shares a weird video or story, it snowballs into thousands of believers and skeptics arguing in the comments, fueling the fire even more. Now, let's talk about how Project Bluebeam has sneaked its way into pop culture, because if you think this theory is just for conspiracy forums and late night TikTok strolling, think again. Think again. What is that from? Well, think again. SpongeBob. Is it from SpongeBob? Yeah. Yeah, I think it's from SpongeBob. I think it was Sandy. Sandy Cheeks. Okay, so first off, movies and TV shows have long loved the idea of fake alien invasions and government mind games. So think classics like The Truman Show, where the whole world is a stage and the main guy's life is manipulated without him even knowing. Or They Live, where hidden messages control the masses. Not exactly like Bluebeam, but definitely vibes of that what if reality wasn't real energy. Then there's stuff like Independence Day, where massive alien ships invade the skies and chaos ensues, which I also feel is total Bluebeam energy if you squint and ignore the aliens actually being real. And let's not forget the X-Files, where government conspiracies and UFOs are basically like the bread and butter. Like that one X-Files episode when aliens invaded and like humans became friendly with them and had some type of like book or something. And they went on the ship and someone was like, "It's a cookbook." Anybody remember that episode? Because I do. Anyway. On social media, especially TikTok and YouTube, you'll find tons of creators like dissecting Project Bluebeam, some seriously, some sarcastically, and some just for like the meme value. So there's really like not too much on this, but I did find a few Reddit stories, and I searched for like UFO sighting stories and Project Bluebeam, and I came across a post where a Redditor had an apocalyptic dream where they were 12 and later in life realized it matches Project Bluebeam. So this is from Imaginary Contract 100, and it says, "When I was around 12 years old, I had a dream that I still think about to this day. In it, I was with a group of people huddled around a black hexagon with a countdown, almost like a bomb. When the countdown hit 0, we all ran inside. The sky was pitch black with swirling purple vortexes. Meteors or bombs were pouring out of them, slamming into communities, and people were running through the streets in terror. Men in regular clothing were rounding up civilians at random into their van. I looked up and saw a massive green hologram of a man, presumably a president, broadcasting the same message over and over on a loop. There were spaceships flying around the purple vortexes, making the entire scene feel like an alien invasion. For anyone unfamiliar, Project Bluebeam is a conspiracy theory suggesting that governments will stage a massive fake alien invasion using advanced holograms and mind control tactics to usher in a new world order. It involves elements like projected images of religious figures or leaders, mass hysteria, and even rounding up people under the guise of global unification or salvation. The crazy part is how eerily similar my dream was to the supposed stages of this theory, and I had this dream years before even reading about it. I still don't know if it was symbolic, prophetic, or just a strange coincidence, but it still makes me wonder, are these dreams just the subconscious piecing things together, or are they showing me something? Remember when the government announced, this isn't the guy's letter, though, I mean his little story, this is me. But do you guys remember when the government basically announced like UFO sightings and they were like, aliens are real, UFOs are real, and the world was like, yeah, we don't care. Is Project Bluebeam about to happen? And it wasn't just the name that caught my attention either. So this guy's username is called Gobble Me Good. I'm not sure where you guys come up with these names, but keep it coming because you kill me. Okay. So this one says, Jeremy Corbell confirming Project Bluebeam is about to happen. You will be told a lie. That lie will be that there's a UFO heading to the Earth arriving 2027. They want us to know UFOs are real, but why now? That's like all this guy's story said, but it caught my attention. But somebody commented and they were like, so 3-body problem is happening, which I don't know if you've ever heard of Liu Cixin. He is a Chinese science fiction writer, and please read his book because 3-body problem is like the first one. And then there's The Dark Forest and Death's End. I'm about to start The Redemption of Time soon as I'm like finishing up my current book, but I definitely recommend. Also, Ball Lightning was like a standalone novel, and that one was good too. But anyway, back to Reddit. So a comment by Magiant, whatever, Mageant. however you pronounce that. They said, what if there are many alien civilizations, some bad and many good, and the good ones are trying to protect us? So the only way bad ones influence us is by some conspiratorial exciting. Huh. I like that one. And I also believe that there are good aliens out there, but are we being kind enough humans where they would like want to protect us? I don't think so, mister. So there's not many posts about Project Bluebeam that were actually that interesting besides the two that I kind of just read. So I'm going to read a few about UFOs and aliens, and then like maybe an alien abduction story or two. I don't know, because like, why not? But this one is juicy, and it's from user Appalachian Wit. First time I ever tried to write this down. First time telling anyone outside the family. I'm leaving out time and location and some other details because I'm still scared of what might happen with it publicly, I guess. Summer before 8th grade, me and two of my friends snuck out at midnight to go walk around the neighborhood and go see these girls on the next block who were having a sleepover. We turned a corner in our neighborhood and there's this huge black blimp-shaped thing in the sky. Okay, side note, I listened to this other podcast before. I feel like it was with Payne Lindsay, but it could also be like someone else. I forget the name. But anyway, there were these Air Force pilots and they encountered this like tic-tac shaped aircraft that were super duper fast and were like moving from one place to another like in a flash. And you can hear the pilots like talking about it, trying to catch up to it, and how like they were just like disappearing. But anyway, the Tic Tacs are the same shape as blimps kind of, but like smaller. Okay, so back to the story. There's this huge black blimp shaped thing in the sky, like the pictures of the Hindenburg, but bigger than that and as close, if not closer. Completely silent and the size of at least 4 to 5 football fields across. No exaggeration, even though I was young. That's actually kind of funny. Because that could be an exaggeration. We stare at it entranced, asking each other over and over again if we see it, which we all agree that we do, standing there, frozen in one place. It's like black, polished gunmetal, no lights, no sound, no anything, just hovering there. And then, I don't know what happened, but time clearly jumps. Next thing I remember is the craft, ship, government experiment, whatever the hell is going on, whatever it is, has gone, and there's a tiny glowing white barbell thing in the sky, seemingly slowly falling to earth with wisps of smoke coming off it. Then, 2 brand new black trucks with silver gearboxes on the back, like F-150s or S-10s, but nicer, came speeding down the street, going about 75 in a residential 25 miles per hour neighborhood. Then after that, I remember walking home to one of my friends' houses and going back to bed. At that point, it was like 5 or 6 a.m. and the sun was coming up. We all made a promise to tell my dad in the morning because he worked for the city, but we never did. I don't know what happened later in life to one of my friends who was there, but the other was my best friend, and we sort of made an unspoken pact to never talk about it. We all grew up, and I sort of lost touch with him too. We did reconnect over Facebook and such over the years, but it was like there was something between us neither of us wanted to touch or talk about. I mean, I think I have an idea what that might be, but looking back at it now, there's no way we could have been the only ones to see it. It wasn't that late at night, and it was over a heavily populated suburb of a major city. The idea of this has always scared me more than any sort of possible abduction scenario. That there were others, and we're all voluntarily suffering a sort of collective amnesia, except in how we're not. I've thought about hypnosis, but that scares me too. Plus, I'm not sure if I trust the result. I was just a kid then. What I do know, again, is that there's no way it was just the 3 of us who saw it. We're talking a huge thing hovering in the sky directly above hundreds of houses just after midnight on a summer weekend night. But nothing on the news, nothing in the paper, nothing on TV. Thanks for letting me get that off my chest. That's wild. I feel like the black trucks that drove by, like, did the Men in Black thing with the flash, and that's why you don't remember. This next story is from Deleted from 12 years ago. Sorry for not knowing your name deleted. Okay, so it says, my mom tells a story of her and her friend. Let's call her friend Lisa. When my mom and Lisa were teenagers, they were up on the roof of Lisa's house and they see a bright light in the sky. Next thing they know, the light is gone. The thing is, they think they've been on the roof for 15 minutes, but something like 3 hours had passed. Mom doesn't remember anything about what happened during that time, and Lisa simply refuses to talk about it. She would answer my mom with things like, I don't know, and just drop it for a long time. So a couple months later, Mom moves away and loses contact with Lisa for about 10 years. She finally met up with her again, and immediately noticed that something is odd about Lisa. Lisa appeared very distant to her, with like a very dreamy demeanor. She was really happy and at peace, but for no good reason. After they talk a bit, Lisa brings up the incident on the roof. Mom says she still doesn't really remember anything about it, but Lisa remembers. She remembers everything. She said that at first, it was all in bits and pieces, and she couldn't remember any part of it clearly. She was confused and scared and wanted to avoid discussing it. Then, as time passed, she began to remember more of it. She remembers it all clearly, and she remembers the other 3 times she was abducted after that clearly as well. At first, they paralyzed her somehow and did all sorts of invasive experiments on her, but by the most recent time, they stopped probing her and began to talk with her. They didn't speak English or any other human language, but she could understand everything they said, even though she can't speak their language herself. Apparently, they told her all sorts of things, stuff about space, Earth itself, and most shockingly, predicted years beforehand that she would get pregnant in a specific year. Side note, there's more to this part of the story, but I'm actually going to skip that because it talks about infant loss. They also told her that they had abducted my mother. Another time after that first incident. Mom says she has no recollection of any other potential abduction, but she does have recurring nightmares of being abducted, but she's almost sure, that almost sure was in air quotes, that they're just that, nightmares. Anyway, Lisa tells Mom that every time she speaks with them, she comes to understand the truth more and more. When Mom inquires what the truth is, Lisa just says that you will know eventually, and she says that once she's learned of the truth, everything became wonderful. Mom has seen her a few more times over the years. We still live in another state from her, and she apparently has a pretty normal life, and she doesn't obsess over alien stuff like some supposed alien abductees usually do. She only ever brings it up in passing, not like it's a central part of her daily life. That's wild. Also, what if, like, the aliens abducted Lisa, and then, like, they were doing all the testing, but that testing that they did beforehand was to see if she was able to communicate with them so that they can tell her things, and then what if the truth is that, like, the aliens who are like in space somewhere are good, and then there are bad aliens here on Earth with like human costumes on, and they told Lisa that like the good aliens win in the end. Like that makes sense. Okay, this next one is also from Deleted, and I don't know why Deleted keeps deleting, but anyway, this one says, I can't say for sure what happened to me that night, but here's what I know. I was driving home for the weekend from school at Indiana University. It takes me about 2 hours to get home. I left Bloomington around 10 p.m. At exactly 10:53 p.m., I am on a rural stretch of a 2-lane highway I take home, and I notice what appeared to be flashing lights behind me. I thought, great, I'm getting pulled over. So I turn onto the next county road, about a quarter mile from where I noticed the lights. As the car came to a stop and I started to open my glove box to get out my registration and proof of insurance, the lights suddenly disappeared and no car drove past. Now here's where the story takes a turn for the weird. I actually love that. A turn for the weird. I'm going to say that from now on. But anyway, now here's where the story takes a turn for the weird. And I'm sure you guys will think I'm just making it all up because it really does seem like something straight out of a typical UFO movie or story. The electronics in my car started to go haywire. The radio was randomly changing stations while the volume kept going up and down while the dome light and headlights start to flicker and turn off and back on. This was at 10:56 p.m. I started thinking to myself that my battery must be failing or else I have a short somewhere in the electric system of my car. So I leaned down to pop the hood so I can take a look at the battery, and that is the last thing I remember doing. The next thing I know, I open my eyes and see nothing but the sky full of stars. It was a cold night and it seemed like I had never seen the stars that bright in my life. I sat up and looked around and I saw absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. I was in the middle of a field surrounded by corn stalks left over from a recent harvest. As I started to come to my senses, I started to freak out. Where am I? Why am I asleep in the middle of the field? Where is my car? I get up and start walking toward the distant headlights I could see from the road about a half a mile away. When I got to the nearest intersection, I looked at the signs which read 350 North and 350 West. I was half a mile away from my car, which was just right off the main road. I started walking towards the headlights that I could see on the main road. I can't say how long it took me to walk about a half a mile, but it couldn't have been more than 10 or 15 minutes. When I arrived at my car, all the lights were out. My battery had died, which struck me as odd because I couldn't have been gone for that long. I look at my phone, which was sitting on the passenger seat, and the time was 2:17 a.m. Over 3 hours had passed since I turned off onto the side road for the flashing lights behind me. I remember sitting in my car completely dumbfounded, wondering what the hell had just happened to me. After about a half hour of just sitting there, I remembered that my battery was dead, so I got on the phone and called AAA to come out and give me a jump. When I was typing this out, though, it says give me a hump. Anyway, it took them about an hour for them to get out to me since I was a good distance away from the nearest town, during which time I just sat in silence, running through the possible scenarios in my head concerning what had just happened. To this day, I couldn't tell you what really happened to me that night. All I know is I can't think of any plausible explanation as to why I woke up over half a mile away from my car, in the middle of a cornfield, more than 3 hours after I stopped. I have only shared this story with one other person. I am sure people will either look at me like I'm crazy, or they would call bullshit on the whole story. I can't blame them. If somebody came to me with a story like that closely mirrors the stereotypical encounter story, I probably wouldn't believe them either. These stories are giving me the heebie-jeebies. All right, I will read one more because this episode will be like 4 hours long if I don't stop. So this one's from Half Empty 69. Also, half empty. I hope that you are all full now. Okay, so it says, okay, here it goes. The first time I had ever seen anything, I was 7 in Houston, Texas. I used to like to climb on top of my mom's Suburban in the driveway and stare at the stars. One night I saw an intensely bright floating light over the tree line, probably about a half a mile away. I hollered, but nobody came to see it. I did not see anything else until March of 2008. This experience happened between the 10th and the 15th, but I can't give a specific date because I was up for 4 days trying to come up with some explanation to satisfy what I had seen. This was in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. My mother lived in a garden home community, all houses the same size, all one story, and you had great visibility distance-wise. I walked out of my buddy's place at exactly 4 a.m. to a bright, starry night. When I walked out, something caught my eye to the left of me. I looked over and saw a bright blue, yellow, green, white, red, orange, strobing, flashing light floating silently to the left. I stood in awe at it and did not want to go grab anyone because I didn't want to miss anything. I watched as it passed in front of the moon behind my friend's place, and I saw the outline of the craft. It was a teardrop, sunflower seed type shape, and the craft seemed to have lights being transmitted from the top half of it. It was almost as if it was transmitting some light pattern upward. It also had a dark, thin, smooth line of exhaust that appeared 50 to 75 feet behind it. This all occurred no less than 400 yards away from me. After it passed the moon, I ran inside and grabbed someone. He saw it, but it was too far away to make out what it was. I went home, which was only a few blocks away, and looked out from the driveway the same direction the first craft had come from. I saw 2 dim white lights slowly coming over the horizon at a slow pace, heading towards me. I then ran inside and grabbed my mother out of bed. We stood there for about 20 minutes while 5 separate crafts flew over us. First came 2, then 1, about 6 to 7 minutes apart from each other. Maybe 20 miles per hour, maybe 200 feet up, completely silent. The way they had looked from underneath was each one had a huge bright white lights, which were maybe 30 to 40 feet across each way, but they were so bright it was hard to get a good estimate. They also had a pulsating red one between the white lights that dimmed and relit. I would estimate from the size of the white lights that each craft was maybe between 150 to 200 feet wide. The last craft that flew over us flew over lower and slower than the first 4 had. Then it made a noise. It let out a sound that to this day haunts me. It was so loud, and the craft did that twice. These crafts flew directly over us, and I believe that sound was an acknowledgement. Whatever was piloting it knew we were watching it, kind of like a hello. I immediately started crying. I had no idea what I was looking at or just heard. The second big experience I had occurred a couple weeks later. I was standing in my driveway smoking a cigarette, listening to my iPod somewhere around 2 a.m. I decided to pause my iPod to turn the back light on, waved my hand over it a couple times, making somewhat of a strobe pattern. I didn't hear anything, I didn't see anything come up, but I got that being watched feeling. I looked up, and directly above me was a trapezoid-shaped craft with round edges that had a dark red and black, pulsating, glowing outline. It was like flowing electricity. It was not even 75 feet up. I could have hit this thing with a rock. I stood there while it hovered directly above me, completely silent for maybe 10 to 15 seconds, similar to the ball that Luke trained with in Star Wars. It hovered side to side, front to back in smooth motion, never getting more than 20 feet away from its original position. It was extremely fascinating, but I was frozen stiff. After those few seconds, I waved one hand at it in a friendly manner. It then changed light pattern and hovered away behind my house. Upon deeper inspection, the fact that it knew that I saw it but made no effort to evade my detection makes me think it wanted me to follow it, although I was too freaked out to think about that at the time. I have seen the same craft on 3 other different occasions, once again in Tuscaloosa, once in Hoover, and once in Bessemer. The time I saw it in Hoover was at an apartment complex at the top of a huge hill with a great overlook. It was nighttime, and I was with friends. Over the overlook, I saw a gray craft facing my direction that looked similar to a Hoth fighter. Forgive the Star Wars references. Well, You are forgiven, my guy, because I don't even know what the heck you're talking about. As soon as I saw it, it took off to the right, silently, extremely quick. The times in Bessemer and Tuscaloosa, the trapezoid shape appeared in the sky solid white, stretched to twice its length, then the bottom shot up to the front like it hit light speed or something. I do frequently see what I like to call streaks. They look like shooting stars, only very low, move slower, but they still have the tails that stream behind them. They can also appear in many different colors. One strange story is, one night when I had a dream in Tuscaloosa. In that dream, I couldn't see or hear anything, but I could feel things. I was laying on something cold, and I felt what seemed like rubber between my legs around my junk. What the fuck? It was very strange to me, since a lot of people who report abductions report sperm and eggs being taken for breeding programs. The next morning, I went to let the dog out in the backyard, which is very small. To the left of the patio, there was a solid white ring in the grass that was maybe 8 to 10 feet wide. I showed my mother, and she had told me that she had heard a noise that woke her up the night before, but she just dismissed it. Another extremely confusing experience I had. You had a lot of experiences, my guy. Okay. Another extremely confusing experience I had occurred in my driveway in Tuscaloosa. To give you an idea of where this was, look up Shelton State Community College. The house was less than a quarter mile from the campus in the Englewood neighborhood. It was nighttime, and I heard the static that I could compare to a jet. I looked over, and directly above the community college was a light blue slit in the sky. I would say it was maybe 200 yards long, completely vertical, and had what looked like white electric currents coming off of both sides of it. I looked at it, and maybe about 25 white things shot out of this, slit to the left one at a time at a quick pace, leaving the trail behind it that I previously talked about. After they passed, the bottom of the slit went upward until the slit closed, and it made a strange sound, and then it was gone. That's weird. That reminds me of, Stranger Things. I've also had a bunch of experiences with orbs. Some solid lit that float across the sky or move in strange patterns, and some that brighten up to a great intensity and then fade as they pass. After that first big experience, I started doing some research because I was so confused. I understand that I've had an abnormally large amount of experiences, and I honestly can't tell you why. I wish I could. Well, thank you for addressing that, because I was just about to bring that up. Even though I mentioned it earlier. I found a type of UFO witness called a contactee. These people are similar to abductees, except they are kept up with. I have no idea why I've had so many experiences, and I have only listed a fraction of them. My guess would be that since I acknowledged the presence of whatever it was I was seeing, it decided to keep up with me. It's kind of a gift and a curse. There are so few people that I can talk with about it and be taken seriously. I want to seek hypnotherapy to see if there might be anything else I could uncover. I'm grateful, but still don't know much about my experiences. If you can get anything out of what I shared, then great. Well, half empty, 69, that was a lot. Well, I hope you're doing well, and since this was written 12 years ago, I'm curious if you've had any recent UFO encounters. So, with all of the hologram talk and stuff, what if there's a bunch of UFOs floating around up in the sky? Right? And what we see in the sky, the blue, is a hologram. And then the clouds and all that stuff are real, but what if it's used by the bad human aliens to block the good aliens from coming to Earth to protect us? And the UFO sightings that people see are the good aliens, who somehow got through. And then, the black trucks that come in are the bad aliens again, doing the whole flash thing to wipe your memory so that you don't remember that they're bad aliens. And then the good aliens have somewhere to come through, have to somehow come through the hologram barrier and do it all over again, hoping that someone remembers. That could be a thing. I think that can be a thing. But anyway, thanks for spiraling with me. That's a wrap on Project Bluebeam. But whether you think it is a master plan for world domination or just an elaborate story born from late night internet scrolling, and one thing's for sure, it's wild. But anyway, if you have your own Project Bluebeam stories, or maybe some UFO sightings that made you do a double take, send them my way so I can share them next time. Speaking of next time, get ready, because we are switching gears and talking about something equally as fascinating, I think. Hollywood conspiracy theories, or Hollyweird, as some people call them. From Michael Jackson possibly still being alive to secret societies pulling strings behind the scenes. I want to unpack the juiciest, wildest rumors from Hollyweird. But before you go, I have to play you my favorite song of the week. I've been vibing so hard to this song, and I really hope you love it. This is Taste by Crooked Ways. Be kind to someone for no reason, and go be amazing.
Oh, well, it's quite an impression. 5 feet to be exact. Now I'm gone, but you're still laying next to me, 1 degree of separation. I heard you're back together, and if that's true, you'll just have to taste me when he's kissing you. If you want forever, I bet you do. Just know you'll taste me too. He pins you down on the carpet, makes paintings with his tongue. He's funny now, all his jokes hit different, 'cause who he learned that from. Now I'm gone, but you're still laying next to me, 1 degree of separation. I heard you're back together, and if that's true, you'll just have to taste me when he's kissing you. If you want forever, I bet you do. Just know you'll taste me too. Every time you close your eyes and feel his lips, you're feeling mine. And every time you breathe his air, just know I was already there. You can have him if you like, I've been there, done that once or twice. And singing about it don't mean I care. Yeah, I know I've been known to share. Well, I heard you're back together, and if that's true, you'll just have to taste me when he's kissing you. If you want forever, I bet you do. Just know you'll taste me too. You'll just have to taste me when he's kissing you. You'll just have to taste me when he's kissing